Welcome to another episode of So What Is Your Point? Today, Steve and I are talking about influencing with questions. We know how important questions are to the whole process of influencing others and being more persuasive. So, Steve, let's start out with telling people a little bit about what we mean by influencing with questions.
Whenever you have someone that you're either in conflict with, or you have a disagreement with, or you don't agree with their position or what have you, a direct confrontation very seldom turns out in a positive way to influence their thought process. But softly asking questions as if you really want to know what's going on in their thought process often helps them soften up enough that you can insert additional information into their thought process that would influence an outcome.
And it lowers the defenses, right?
It does lower defenses because most people want to be heard when they have an opinion. You hear their opinion and you ask several questions and you start moving towards the ability to come to a different perspective.
Yeah.
For both of you.
And I love the quote that you came up with by Rob Brown. If you can speak, you can influence. If you can influence, you can change lives.
Right. But it's not the speaking part that's important. It's the asking questions and listening. So let's just say you're confronted with somebody who has an opinion or a position that you're not really comfortable with. So let's start with the first question you can ask. You can say simply, "That's interesting. Next one up. Tell me more." So what are you doing here? You're giving them an opportunity to expand upon their thought process. And then the next question could be, why would you say that?
And
Now,
so often people will redefine their question when you ask that. So that they think that maybe they weren't clear, so they redefine their question and you might get a little bit more information.
you get more information, but what does that cause them to do? They've expounded a position. They've confronted you with something, and you say, "Well, why would you say that?" Now they've got a little cognitive dissonance going on in their brain, and they're having to think about, "Well, why did I say that?" You
And
can say,
then,
and then why would you do such a thing? It could be a question you follow up with. So let's just say, for instance, they've come at you with a position of a political matter. And you say, "Well, why would you?" They say, this person's bad or whatever. Well, why would you say that? And then they would, "Well, gee, this guy's bad or this person's bad. And they ought to be thrown out of the office." Well, why would you do that? Now you're causing a little bit more cognitive dissonance, and they're having to think.
right.
Go ahead, Roger.
And the other thing about questions, sometimes they can be challenging in nature to the other person. So the one thing that you might want to do is just soften it up a little bit. That's a question I get all the time. So, soften it up with a little preamble to the question so that it sounds conversational rather than interrogative.
Right. Obviously asking them softly, not confrontationally. But to your point, if they have this position, you say, "Gee, I'm curious. Why would you do that?"
Right.
Would be another easy way to soften that and make it, because all you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to think and to verbalize what their thoughts are.
Right. Right. And another question?
Why would you ask that? Or I'm curious, why would you ask that? Or, that's interesting. Why would you ask that?
Yeah.
So another tactic could simply be, go ahead, next one. What do you mean by that?
And it's okay to just, look confused, be confused.
Yeah. And that's easy. I'm confused. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Or what do you mean by that?
Right. And then a logical follow-up question, how did you come to that conclusion, right?
Easy, an easy one. Because now they're having to think about, well, how did they come to that conclusion? Was it just something they heard on the news? Or something a teacher told them? Or gossip they heard?
And then that explores getting the facts out, whereas it eliminates a lot of hearsay and opinion and those kinds of things. But this says, well, how did you come to that conclusion? Well, the facts are that da 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 da. So that does make it fact-based rather than opinion-based.
Right. I was listening to a political debate, and one person presented something and I said, well, wait a minute, I think you have your facts wrong. And these are the actual facts. And the person was challenging said, well, where'd you get your facts? Well, the FBI.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's hard to refute.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I'm wrong. And again, that causes that little bit of cognitive dissonance. And let me describe what cognitive dissonance really is. Cognitive dissonance is where you believe something and you're confronted with something that's opposite of that, or that is not in congruence with that thought process. And now you have a dissonance between those two things going on in your brain. And it's causing you a little bit of discomfort because it's not what you believed, but also it's causing you to think. For instance, when you get feedback and that feedback is contrary to what you believe, you have two choices. You can discount it and say, I don't believe it. Or you can say, maybe there's something to this. As uncomfortable as that feels, maybe I'll look into it.
Yeah. And we have the next question, which is, what evidence do you have for that? Which is really getting back to the fact. That's what we were talking about.
Right.
Or what did you get? Where did you get your information? Also bringing it back to fact-based conversation.
Right. But you're trying to get them to think about how they came to these conclusions, and is it possible that by getting them to think about additional information, you can influence a change in thought process.
And there could be another answer or another option.
Right.
What we're just talking about. Yeah.
Could there be other answers or solutions to this challenge or this problem or this issue? When we were growing up, our parents always told us there's two sides to every story. There's at least two sides to every story. So if you take one position, could there be another side to the story? And could it have validity?
Yeah.
again, the aspect of this influence is to get people to think a little bit differently.
And we honed down to the real question was, what is really important here? Which gets to, so what is your point?
Right. Yeah. The interesting thing is, we have this political discourse going on right now, and you have this racial thing, and you have people who say, wait a minute, I don't feel that racial thing. Is the issue is what's really important? Is it to bring people together, or is it to tear them apart?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you want to bring people together and unite people, telling them that they're idiots isn't going to help.
Right, right. And so often there's a wide variety of different opinions about things. If you were to get a group of purchasers or a group of buyers together, or a board meeting, they would all have different ideas about the same topic. And sometimes it is just about bringing it together and finding a common ground amongst all of them.
Right. And I think that's often a challenge, particularly if you're dealing with a group. It's to actually put the issues up on a board or a flip chart or whatever have you. Say, okay, here's our issues. Now, what are some things that we can do to fix these issues? And do it in a way that people will want to do them versus be feeling forced to do them. And I think,
and to your point, start out with open-ended questions that really create conversation about the topic, right?
Right. So you ask open-ended questions, you create dialogue, you cause people to think, and then you have the opportunity to influence.
Right. Well, that's a very valuable concept, Steve, and it seems like really it's something that everyone can apply it to their lives and their work, and really find ways in which they can start using questions to influence others. So we hope you enjoyed this episode of So What Is Your Point? And we look forward to seeing you next week. We will be interviewing Henry Chigi, who is a consultant and coach. And I think you'll really love that interview. So please feel free to join us next week. Bye for now.